All right, team, welcome back to the Ask Matty show. We're going to have a great show for you today. We were not here on Monday, so we're going to try to play a little catch up today. Some of you are angry with us because, we didn't have that show on Monday, so we didn't get to discuss the AMA from last week from Casper, and we did not get to address the board stepping down. So we'll do that today. We may end up doing a little bit more next week on it. I don't really know. It just depends on how far we get. I jotted down a ton of notes. I was talking with Matty before the show right now, and in some respects, it's a nothing burger, but in other respects, it might be something that you were looking for. So we'll hope to answer that for you today. We'll also discuss XRP. Are people leaving XRP for meme coins? I bet not. We're also going to do a little Cardano charting here. Hopefully, Matty will we didn't get to it last show, so hopefully we'll get to chart Cardano today, as I know some of you are holders of ADA. And we'll also discuss Bitcoin new all-time high. We're seeing good Bitcoin price action right now and XRP approval. This is the Ask Matty show. Matty, how are you feeling? How are the markets doing? What should we be expecting this upcoming week? Because I've heard BitBoy, I've heard Lark Davis, I think within the next 12 to 14 days, we should see a new Bitcoin all-time high. What do you think?
My God. Well, first of all, BitBoy's wrong all the time. I mean, this man has given a million time predictions, and I can go look at all those receipts. The internet lives forever. I know that you guys love timeline predictions because you want to organize your money so that you can get the money in and get the money out before you got to, pay your car payment again. And it's a crazy game you guys play. Please don't do that. So when do we get a new all-time high for Bitcoin? I don't know, right? We're probably getting ready here just based on price action to break out of this range. We've been in this range since March. We will be taking a look at the Bitcoin chart later today. But the markets look pretty good. They look, like they rebounded very, very nicely over even the last couple of weeks. We've seen some nice higher lows established in the crypto market, especially in the Bitcoin market. So overall, looks incredibly bullish. But, I'm not going to give you guys a date when. 12 to 14 days, yeah, you're probably trying to align when the election season comes up here, and maybe you think the markets will pop by then. Yeah, maybe it's some good speculation, but it's not enough for me, right? We always speak in probabilities and never absolutes, and the probabilities are very low that you can suggest the exact breakout in that time.
Yeah, that's very smart, Matty. Some of these arguments I've heard are really stupid, So some will say within the 12 to 14 next following days here, we've always seen a new all-time high, And when I hear that, I just I cringe a little bit because they forget this whole year, right? They forget about when the new Bitcoin all-time high was set, well before the halving, right? So to pin up days okay, so in the past we've never seen an all-time high past this point. That's just kind of foolish because one could have made that about the new all-time high that was set this year before the Bitcoin halving, before the Bitcoin coming to market every day was cut. And so when we take that argument, it's okay, our stance here was things have changed. We shouldn't
Definitely.
always depend on the Bitcoin halving, right, Matt? And so when I hear that argument, it's the next 12 to 14 days, it has to happen. It's you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about because things we're already in a different era than we were before,
we've already
right?
seen deviations from what we've seen in previous cycles. And again, that's why we always look at things as probabilities. That's why a lot of you guys see on Twitter, October is always a very, very good month. No, it's a statistically high probability that it's a good month, but it's not guaranteed to be a good month because we have examples where October has ended in a down month or a red month, right? So I want you guys to always understand that it's always probabilities, and that probability does not equal a guarantee.
Yeah. That's funny because people were saying the same thing about September this year, and September was a great month. So it's hey, listen, guys, you shouldn't be so binary. It's not a 0 or a 1. Some things are kind of different, and some things change, right? Things don't stay the same forever, right? Just like the argument we've made before, Matty, about, future returns of Bitcoins. We're going to see diminishing returns. It's not going to be like this forever, right? So this is why you have to make it count and get into crypto. And how are you going to do that, Matt? How do you think they're going to do that? They need to buy crypto, but the proper way. But how are they going to learn to do it, Matt? I'm being a little, over the top here.
It's all right. We like a little bit of corniness here. I hope you guys do it at cryptocharge.com, the number one place. No, seriously, guys. I don't want you guys to be scrambling around in the bull market. That is the number one thing that I see people do, and it's so difficult. We actually launched our program towards the end of the last bull run, and people felt very, very crunched to try to learn everything and learn the exchanges, and they felt panicked and they overbought, they overinvested, even though that's not what we were advising for. So I hope you guys come and learn learn a little bit. We have a lot of, jumpstart resources on our website. In just 2 or 3 hours, you can get very educated in the basics. We've got the Discord where you guys can ask questions. And that only comes out to $50 a month if you guys use code YouTube on checkout, plus a 30-day free trial. So that's a whole month if you're checking it out. Discord platform, live updates Monday through Friday. And if you're like, hey, this is not for me, no problem. You're not hurting my feelings. Shoot me an email. We'll get you guys off the platform. But more often than not, you guys stick around after that month because you really do get to see the value that we offer at CryptoCharged.
Good. I'm glad I hope you guys enjoyed that a little bit. I watch some people, I'm just like, listen, your content's great. You bring a lot to the table, but you're just boring. You're just boring. You don't play with it at all. So I hope you got a little laugh there. But let's get into the questions here, Matt. Memphis Bleak 5 says, what are your current thoughts on Cardano?
Cool. So we'll go ahead and actually take a look at the Cardano chart here. Again, guys, I can't keep tabs on every fundamental of every project out there. I mean, even my master watch list right here, you guys can see is pretty big, and this doesn't include all the technical tune-ups that we do where people bring all kinds of other tickers. So I try to stay as informed as possible, but it's just not possible to, hold on to everything, which is kind of why with my portfolio, I've told you guys many times, a little bit more of a concentrated approach allows me to stay on top of the fundamentals for those. But nonetheless, let's talk about the technical setup here for Cardano. Let's talk about what's happening. We have discussed this chart previously. And from a macro perspective, not a ton has changed, but that's actually a good thing because what we've been doing here on the Cardano chart is establishing an uptrend. And a lot of you guys will look at the day-to-day price action. People will jump on Coinbase, they'll look on, Robinhood or whatever your trading app is, and they'll look for the day and they'll go, damn, look, Cardano's been doing really, really bad lately. But your personal entry doesn't dictate the long-term performance of an asset, right? So one of the things that we can look at first of all for Cardano is this big impulse that we had in 2017, just really good, right time, right place, launching huge impulses higher. We come crash down significantly, right? So you see minus 98%, as low as minus 98%. So again, we can go ahead and pick on Casper and a variety of others that are in their accumulation zones, but hey, here's Cardano setting a double bottom, in fact, poking a new low here in 2020. Nonetheless, though, we find ourselves developing a rounded bottom here, a little bit of a double bottom. You break out of the accumulative range here. We're going to go ahead and we're doing a little bit of a price study here, but that's fine. I'm showing you guys some of the stuff we do at CryptoCharge.com. So you guys see the top of the accumulator, you see the breakout, you see the back test, and then you see impulses higher. Most beautiful, proper thing a chart can possibly do. So we obviously go into set astronomical new highs, looking at the fib structure in there. You guys can see that we reached out almost to a 2.618, but definitely smacked the hell out of that 1.618 in there. What more importantly, let's come down to the 3-day chart here just so you guys can see structure and kind of see what's been happening here. As you guys can see that we're developing this new structure on top of some previous price action from the last cycle in there. So you guys can see that we had all this contention up here before we actually saw that last capitulation in here. You saw a lot of contention back here in 2021, and now we've had 1, 2, 3 tests down into this pocket. So between 25 cents and 37 cents has been a very, very liquid pocket for this market. In fact, we did get a little breakout here in March, and now we're kind of settling in here. We're actually trying to develop a higher low even from the 2022 lows here. So even though it's not significant, it is a higher low, and that's what you need to see in an uptrend. So again, looking more macro left to right though, you have the low in here, you have a higher high. What are we establishing right here, guys? A higher low. So what do we expect here? That of course this top is going to get taken out. So if we use our fib here, go swing high, we go swing low, and we take a look at some of the possibilities in here. And again, we always wanted to consider doing a heavy unload at TP1. Again, you guys can do whatever you want. That's how we advise our team. We want to de-risk. We've done a good job of accumulating a good average here. We want to make sure we're taking money off the table. Be looking around just under $5 potentially as that first target for Cardano. So trading 35 cents right now, maybe upwards of like a 12, 13x opportunity up to take profit one. And I don't think that's unreasonable. I think that Cardano could see significantly higher. But again, really what's making me so bullish on this is the series of higher lows that have been established over a multi-year period. So again, a lot of the strategy you guys look at us talk about, especially with some of like the more long-term picks like XRP. XRP is doing the exact same thing. It's giving you a very, very similar setup. Now structurally a little bit different, but we're establishing those new cumulative structures on top of previous highs. And that's the importance of what we're trying to extract from today's episode. So Cardano looks good. I'm not a Cardano holder, but structurally, anything below 35 cents is really a smoking deal.
Yeeper says, why is Casper entire board stepping down? Casper posted that on their LinkedIn page a few days back. Would love to know why.
Yeah, so first of all, kind of jump into conclusions here, right? Like whole board stepping down. We all know that there's been a big restructuring, right? Like we know that labs and the association are kind of changing responsibilities, and we're seeing a shift there. We've also seen a shift in a little bit of focus from the Casper team, where it's still very much enterprise focused because that's going to be the main customer of people building applications on the network. But we do know that they've navigated a bit from just strictly enterprise to a more granular subject of AI governance and AI application specifically. And I don't think that's a foolish move. So what we're really seeing is a shift in marketing and we're seeing a shift in focus. And I don't think that those things are a bad thing. A lot of people have been complained about, in the past of, the Casper team not being, vocal enough, not having someone we can look to for answers when we're looking for developments on the network. And maybe that has been a small hindrance on the network. As somebody who's a deep believer in DLT, and I understand that this is truly decentralized software and decentralized technology, I understand that deep down there isn't a requirement to have a face, for the network. The network itself runs based on the people who choose to run nodes, and those validators are essentially the ones that make decisions on keeping the network secure and keeping it moving and all those different things. Really, everything else is more about the icing on top of the cake versus the necessity behind it. So, of course, I think there's going to be some additional moving pieces over these coming weeks here when it comes to this reorganization, but I don't think it's a bad thing. You look at the resumes of the people we're putting in place here, very, very educated and a lot of kinetic hands-on experience when it comes to large-scale technology adoption. So I don't have any concern with it. In fact, I think it's a good thing, especially if you look at some of the comments and people are being very, very upset with previous leadership. Why would you not welcome a new wave of leadership and reorganization here? So I think it looks good. We don't have any concerns about it, and I'm very, very bullish both fundamentally and technically on Casper.
Love it, Matt. We'll get into it more next week because I don't want to spend because I think we could do a 10-minute, 15-minute roundtable here just about it, because there are some details about the change in governance. We got 3 new interim board members, one of them being Michael Storr. The domino effect kind of started with him. And so there's a lot to discuss, but team, just before next show, I want you to do a little homework. Do you understand the difference between Casper Association and Casper Labs? And do remember that Casper Labs was the leader of all of this. This is why we talked about it in depth this whole year, is because Casper Labs was really the one in control, right? But the problem is they're a for-profit company and they're trying to build tools and software for other companies for partnerships, but they are also the ones in control of the network, right? So if you're trying to pull in one direction and also kind of manage the network, it's not really, who gets put on the back burner there? The network does. And so this is kind of the change in that. We'll get into it more next week, but just do that little homework just so you understand, because there was one guy, Matt, and he's like, you know what, I've had it. You guys aren't saying anything about the board change. I'm selling my Casper. And I'm just like, dude, we missed Monday's show.
God.
We haven't talked about Casper in 1 week and you're selling your crypto? Leave, bro.
Right. I think you guys should go just become Bitcoin holders, because there's literally no one you can yell at, right? Like who are you going to go scream into the void when Bitcoin doesn't do what you think it's going to do? At the end of the day, guys, I think you just need to better understand the technology you're invested in.
Leo says, man, everyone is leaving XRP in exchange of meme coins. Why?
I don't agree with that. First of all, a lot of what you're going to see on Twitter and other social media things is lowest common denominator, right? These are a lot of people too that have very, very little money in the markets, very little experience in the markets. And, it also reminds me of the comments that you see on TikTok and Twitter and stuff. And, it's people in there being like, screw you, go kill yourself. They're literally kids. Literally minors in there, 13-year-old kids. And these are the people that you think are probably also adults, and they're out investors with, $50K in the market, but that's not the reality. You are more often than not reading from the lowest common denominator when you're online. So yeah, there's always going to be people who swap their $500 bag of XRP for a meme coin that they hope does really, really well. They're never going to post the screenshots of them taking a fat L on the rug pulls. They're only going to take a screenshot of the stuff that's up. Most more often than not, they're not selling. But I don't think people are leaving XRP. People who have built meaningful XRP positions are moving into meme coins after all these years. We just saw a huge, huge announcement with Ripple with RLUSD, which is their stable coin that will be running over XRP, as well as other networks. And we saw a huge integration just recently with multiple exchanges. We're seeing it come live. So again, guys, I see there's real volume that's going to be coming to the XRP ledger. And I think that anyone who wants to chase meme coins and throw away the opportunity to build a meaningful position now to where you could, again, technically borrow against in the future, have a long-term bag, right? Imagine getting into Bitcoin even at $2,000 or $3,000, right? That's kind of the opportunity that we're looking at here with XRP. And a lot of people are squandering that because they don't think there's any importance in having a blue chip position in your portfolio. They think everything needs to be highest risk, highest reward. But that's not risk management, guys, right? There's nothing wrong with having that be a piece of your portfolio, right? You can have something that's very high risk, high reward. And for me, that's kind of Casper. Not that I think that there's anything wrong with the fundamentals, but it's a much smaller cap. It's a $150 million cap, right? So there's a lot of volatility with that. It's a newer project. There is risk associated with that. But guess what? I also got a big old XRP position. And that is what risk management's all about, guys, right? So yeah, you're going to have people that dump their tiny bag of XRP and they chase the next thing. And guess what? They'll dump that meme coin and they'll jump jump on to the next thing, and they're change their mind every 3 minutes, and that's fine. But that's not how I operate, right? I'm here to build a portfolio. I'm an investor. I'm not a gambler. So again, you're always going to see people saying they sold this for that, and they're going to do it 100 times over, and they're always going to restart their clock on long-term capital gains as well, right? Every time you sell with prior to 12 months of holding, you are resetting the clock on capital gains, and you will pay more in taxes when you do actually go to sell that. So there's a lot of things to consider. Again, a lot of this is not going to affect the average person because they have very, very little amount of money in the market, and that's okay. But those are not the people that I want to listen to when we're talking about decision making of jumping ship from XRP to meme coins. I don't think that that's actually a trend amongst long-term XRP holders.
Phil says, when can we expect BTC new all-time high?
I'm going to punch the next person that says when. But let's take a look at the chart because, this range we've been looking at here for quite some time. I think a lot of people have become very, very emotional about this range. When we get to the bottom of the range, they become very, very bearish. We get to the top of the range, they become very, very bullish. And in fact, you should kind of be the opposite way, right? When we were diving down into key support, that's actually probably a good spot to potentially throw some longs in or add to your position. When we're getting to the top of resistance range, that's when maybe you should be a little bit more nervous of like, all right, well, there's a big liquidity pocket up here, but this is also an area of interest where we've seen selling before. It's the reverse psychology that people have when it comes to the range. But let's take a look at what's happening here. So like we talked about on the show, as well as maybe a few weeks ago, we talked about the 50-week moving average, how we really have not interacted with the 50-week moving average with Bitcoin very often, even since 2018. I want to say that we've touched it maybe 6 times since 2018. So when we do get above or below it, it generally is a good indicator of momentum. So we were heavily below it throughout the entire bear market. We broke back above it. We broke the accumulation range October, right? And then now we've really seen some really, really nice impulses here. We've seen a flip here. So August 5, big bounce. And again here on September 6, big bounce. Other thing we can look at here, and again, not that trend lines are the end all be all, we can see there's been a very, very clean trend line here on Bitcoin. So you guys can see all the examples where we've had an inability to break over this. Boom, boom, boom here. And then more recently, again, here in early October. But today, we're trying to reclaim above the top of that trend line. I know Rec Capital is probably jumping up and down about this. But that's one of the things I'm looking at there. Again, other structural clues here that things look very good is you guys can kind of see this rounded bottom that occurred here. You guys can see that we stabbed down into the zone. We can also kind of grab a little bit of a support zone in here to show you guys why this zone's important. So you guys can see that we had a big stab here in May, again here in July, August, obviously long tails here. But when we look at daily candle closes, most of them are kind of closing between 54K and 57K. So that's a very, very liquid pocket. We saw nice reactions off that. We also see here that there has been a nice flip of the pivot zone here. So 60K, 60 and a half was an important level. I told the team we needed to see flipped. We have flipped that. We have tested it not once, but twice, as well as the 100-day and 50-day moving averages. Remove all of this, and we bring in our fib range here. We go swing high, swing low. You guys should know this if you're part of the team here. And this is kind of what we'd be looking at as our next short-term move. So again, BitBoy and everyone else is going to tell you it's going to happen in 12 days because that's going to get 500,000 retweets. And there's no consequences if he's wrong, right? You guys look at Robert Kiyosaki. He promised $300,000 Bitcoin. What was it, like 12 months ago or something like that?
August 24th, 350.
August 24th, right? Yeah, 350K Bitcoin. Hundreds of thousands of likes. And I can't tell you how many retweets. And again, no consequences, no callbacks to his post of like, hey guys, sorry, I was wrong. Here's all the things that went wrong. No, there's no accountability for it. But when we talk about ranges and we talk about the development of ranges and how we're progressing through those ranges, we can look at strength or weakness. And right now, I think we're in a very, very strong spot for Bitcoin. Clearing back above 60, 61K was very, very important for the market. You guys can see that we're trying to push over the 702 and coming up into that last range here. So that's the 786, right around $68,000. If we successfully break out of this range, I think we're going to be looking right around $88,000 to $89,000 as our next short-term target here for Bitcoin. Now, I think Bitcoin cracks 6 figures very, very easily by end of cycle here. I think that we've got an enormous amount of cycle left, and I think that's one of the big discrepancies that we have with the internet right now is they think that we're at the end of the cycle, and because Bitcoin's done all of this price action ahead of time that the altcoin market is done, and if your coins didn't do this by this time, we're cooked, right? But I don't think that's the case at all. We finally had a good cool off in the market. This is a necessary component for a healthy long-term market. You guys think it only up equals strength, but that's not the reality. This cool off from March to current was absolutely required because we had such little rebalance in the markets previously. So very, very bullish. If you guys have an opportunity, really are desperate to get into some more Bitcoin, I would look for a retest of maybe like 64, but I just don't think the juice is worth the squeeze there. I think there's a lot of other bigger opportunities out there. But again, we looked at a lot of structural clues here, a lot of things that point to more bullishness, a lot of rounded bottoms, a lot of resilience at key levels. And again, we continue to cover this Monday through Friday on the Crypto Charge live show. So if you guys want updates like this, in addition to all the altcoins, that's where you guys can check that out.
Good job, Matty. Hey, I hope Lark and BitBoy are correct. I like,
Right? Yeah, I hope for it too. Yeah.
I just don't like how they're getting there. When they say this has never happened before, we can make the same arguments before and how those have changed, like the Bitcoin having Bitcoin new all-time high, and be like, well,
Right.
maybe we shouldn't jump the gun on this, all right? And I think that's a fair argument there. I'm gonna leave. I'm cutting out this XRP approval question, and I want to ask Matty one more question. One of my questions, all right?
All right.
So we've seen Bitcoin in the same range this whole year. We haven't seen like a flush or a big drop in Bitcoin dominance. What will happen when Bitcoin gets into price discovery mode and is setting new all-time highs? What's going to happen to the altcoins?
Well, contrary to popular belief, even though with you can see dominance rising, you see a huge break in Bitcoin. The altcoins are going to start doing well too. There's rarely a situation where Bitcoin, even with an increase in Bitcoin dominance, where altcoins are not seeing bountiful gains in conjunction with that. Now, the bigger it pops in altcoins where maybe we're going to see some of those parabolas set in where maybe you get multiple 2x days or something like that, or multiple 50% back-to-back days on some of the altcoins, is when Bitcoin price is relatively stable and then you see those sheds in dominance. And I want you guys to remember this component here is it could be as little as, let's say, a 1 to 2% shedding of dominance, and that is enough to flood billions of dollars into the altcoin market. And sometimes you'll see a short pump in a certain altcoin, and then maybe it'll cool off a bit, and then that money will flow into another altcoin. There's no way to know. Again, you're going to start seeing this all over the internet. Everyone's going to tell you. I'm going to tell you it goes like this. It's going to go from this coin to this coin to this coin to this coin. There's no way to know that shit, guys, right? Like if everyone knew that, we would all be doing the same thing, holding hands, kumbaya, making the exact same amount of money, but that's not the reality, right? So the bigger picture is Bitcoin going up equals good for altcoins, right? Bitcoin going up plus stable price and a little shred in dominance, even better for altcoins. But as long as Bitcoin is not capitulating, we should see the altcoin market start to do some really nice, meaningful things over these coming months here.
Great explanation there, Matt. Team, if you got some valuable today, make sure you leave a like. I think there was a lot of value today. And if you want, maybe throw out some segments for next week. If I don't know, I'll think about it. Maybe we won't cover the AMA. Maybe we'll just cover it over a span of a couple shows. But we do have some XRP stuff to discuss next week. So make sure if you have any comments or maybe like segment, oh, talk about this news, talk about this, throw it down in the comment section down below and I will consider it. Only a consideration. No, nothing's guaranteed here, guys. You guys know I dislike your comments. But if you, but team, we will see you. Hopefully we can see you on the website this week. But if not, we will see you on next week's show. So team, until next week, bye.